Hey, it's Jordan with TYT and TYT Politics. I am here with Vanessa Marcano-Kelly. You are an Iowa resident, and you're with Iowa CCI, which is a community group. And I really wanted to talk to you. I came across, I guess I shouldn't be surprised, being who Congressman Steve King is, but I came across some pretty disturbing comments he made your way on Twitter the other day. Really a not so subtle insult at your ethnicity. Before I get to that, I just want to kind of move back for a second. So, talk to me about what group you're with in Iowa and what you were doing. You were set to have a meeting with Congressman King's staff, in addition to other representatives from Iowa in D.C. this week.
Yes, hi, and thank you so much for reaching out to me. So yes, I am a member of Iowa Citizens for Community Improvement. I'm a board member. We're an organization that is based here in Des Moines since 1975. And we were in DC this week to attend the People's Action Rise Up conference, which went from Sunday to Tuesday. And when CCI has members out in DC attending these conferences, which usually happen every year, we take the opportunity to set up these meetings with different congressional staff, or if the Congress people are available, sometimes it's the Congress people, but usually it's their staff, their legislative directors, and people like that, to talk about the issues that we care about here in Iowa, and what Iowa CCI cares about. Iowa CCI, we want to get big money out of politics. We want environmental justice. We want racial justice, worker justice, fight for the rights of immigrants, and uh, just really a community organization that puts everyday Iowans first.
All things that I know Congressman Steve King really loves. Okay, so you were, I know we talked, you were having meetings with some of the other Iowa senators and representatives, and then I believe you had something scheduled at 2 o'clock with Congressman King's staffer.
Yes, so we had other meetings set up with other representatives and senator staffers, and we had something with Jared Culver from Representative King's office at 2 o'clock at the Mott House, which is a building that's right across from the Senate offices.
So obviously you were waiting and nobody showed up.
Yes, so we were waiting. We were waiting there. It was supposed to be at 2 o'clock, and I was talking to another CCI member about what we were going to talk to Jared about, basically because we know that Representative King isn't really a person that can be moved on immigration issues. For historically, he's just had a really extremist stance against immigrants. Um, and so what we were thinking was, okay, at least we could ask, could you tone down this terrible rhetoric on your social media on Twitter? So that's actually one of the main points that we were gonna talk to Jared about. So we were waiting, and I saw 2:23 rolled around, and nobody had shown up. We hadn't gotten an email or anything. So I just tweeted, because I was disappointed that not even the staffer showed up, and nothing. And I just thought I was tweeting like into the void, not really expecting an answer.
So you tweeted, I have it here, had meetings set up with Steve King, Iowa staff in D.C. 23 minutes later, staff no show. We're here all the way from Iowa, way to serve the people, Representative King. And that was, he got back to you fairly quickly, and his response was, "Do you always lie in English?" Question mark. Um, what do you? Before I get into what I think, what was your initial response to that?
I was really upset. I was about to go into another meeting with Senator Ernst's staff. And one of the community organizers from CCI pointed out, and she said, "Hey, Steve King replied to your tweet, and this is what he said." So it was really upsetting because I wasn't expecting a response, and then because of how charged that response was. I'm an interpreter and I'm a translator. Spanish is my first language, and I was tweeting in Spanish throughout the conference. Some tweets were in English, some tweets were in Spanish. Um, I tweet in the languages that I speak because I can, and so then to
And
see
you
this
you
response,
speak
yeah,
English, Spanish, and French, correct?
yes, and so it was upsetting. I was offended, and it felt like a feeling in the pit of my stomach, really. So,
Well, it's almost
yeah,
like his people didn't show up to the meeting. The meeting, you were gonna politely ask him to stop doing what he just did.
exactly, exactly. That was, it was so ironic to see that that we were planning on telling him, hey, can you stop, or can you tone it down? Can you refrain from harassing immigrants on social media? There was a tweet last week where he was toasting to the deportation of a dreamer, when he was mocking, okay, this is not a valedictorian that was deported, so here's a beer, like I toast to the border patrol because they deported this person, really downplaying the the heartbreaking reality of deportation and what that means to families, to have someone taken away like that, and just to make light of it. So, and then just because I was disappointed in the fact that his staff didn't show up to our meeting, um, to reply with that racially charged tweet was just amazing, and just the proof of what he is doing.
Yeah. And I've reached out to him both on Twitter and his office. Haven't heard back yet. I want to remind the audience, just so I mean, the list is long, but some of King's best hits. In 2013, he said on undocumented immigrants, some of them are valedictorians and their parents brought them in. It wasn't their fault. It's true in some cases, but they aren't all valedictorians. They weren't all brought in by their parents. For everyone who's a valedictorian, there's another 100 out there who weighs 130 pounds and they've got calves the size of cantaloupes because they've been hauling 75 pounds of marijuana across the desert. Uh, if that didn't do it for you, here's 2015 on whether America owes apologies to other places for slavery. Obama apologized for Africa for slavery and genuflects to the Arabic princes and genuflects to the Emperor of Japan, and it goes on and on. Americans are tired of apologizing. Okay, we're a proud people. We're the vigor of the planet, and there's nothing for us to apologize for until they come and thank us for the things we've done. So obviously, this isn't an isolated incident. Whenever Steve King is mentioned and the national media covers him, it's kind of like, rightly so, examines the worst of what he's saying in real time. Could you kind of talk about, for Iowa in specific, what has he been trying to do in Iowa that's really jeopardizing people like you? You're a Venezuelan American, and is he trying, to do some draconian things in Iowa when it comes to immigrants? What are some of the things you guys and your group are fighting against?
So yeah, so I'm Venezuelan. I'm a permanent resident right now. So you know, I know what it's like to be in this whole process. And so some of the things, with that kind of rhetoric and just his support for, um, his implicit support for things like, deputizing local law enforcement as ICE. I'm not sure if he's said it that way outright, but with the rhetoric and the way that he speaks, I'm sure that he's someone who would support, these 287G agreements, show me your papers laws like in Arizona and things like that. We had a surge of ICE arrests recently, At the end of February, beginning of March. Some people did have, some warrants out for their arrest, but a lot of people, a lot of fathers who got, and people in general, fathers, mothers, people who got picked up as what, you call collateral damage. They were just in the car, like going to work, and someone who had an ICE warrant got picked up. And then everybody else who didn't have any criminal record or anything like that, they also got picked up, and they're in deportation proceedings right now. With CCI, we see these kinds of cases. I'm also a volunteer with a local hotline here where people can report ICE sightings, or that where family members can reach out and say, hey, I need help. My family member is in jail right now because they have just gotten picked up by ICE. So these are the kind of things that we are seeing. In addition to, in the broader sense, undocumented immigrants are exploited because of their status. They're exploited at work. They're discriminated. They're discriminated in housing. They're intimidated all the time. They're profiled. So these are the different things. And I think that, Representative King's stance, representing a part of Iowa where Sioux City is located, and Sioux City has a large population of immigrants who work at packing plants and who are, productive members of that community. So imagine how they must be feeling that this person who's supposed to be representing them is constantly attacking them one way or the other.
Right, and I think something else, I cover the campaign, and I can't tell you how many Donald Trump rallies I had to go to. And you keep hearing these narratives about they're taking our jobs and all this, yet
Right.
when you're out in the country and you speak with immigrants, they're all actually productive members of the economy. And without them, the economy would actually do worse. Can you kind of talk about that?
Right.
In Sioux City, you were talking about these are not other immigrants are not people who are, uh, stealing people's jobs, things like that.
Right.
You're contributing and you're paying taxes and all that. Can you
Yeah.
kind of discuss, kind of the false narratives that people like Steve King push?
Yeah, people think that undocumented immigrants, and immigrants, whether we have papers or not, I really hate this division between, documented, undocumented, like the good immigrants and the bad immigrants. I think that there's good people and bad people, no matter whether you're an immigrant or not. There's good Americans, bad Americans. There's good Venezuelans, bad Venezuelans. I mean, I think that there's just good people and bad people. So I really hate that gets pinned on whether you're an immigrant or not. Immigrants, they're
By the way, when all the people came over on the Mayflower from Europe to conquer
right.
America and kill all the Indians, I don't think they came with documents either.
Exactly. So, yes. So, in Iowa, there were actually, and I think that some newspapers actually covered this, a few years ago, about how some towns where, their economy was completely contracting, and they were, basically dying because there, negative population growth. And then it wasn't until immigrants came that these towns started to really become revitalized, not just because people came to work, but because they were spending money, they were going to schools, they form a really important tax base to revitalize these communities. So, and these people, or for example, like when you talk about doctors in rural areas, a lot of the doctors that come to rural areas, like in Iowa, they are immigrants because other people want to go elsewhere. They don't want to necessarily be living in rural areas. And so a lot of immigrant doctors come here, as well as people who work in meatpacking plants and dairy farms and hog farms, or just people that work in any sorts of jobs. So these are some of the contributions, and um, it's just really dehumanizing to hear that we are rejected by this kind of rhetoric, when we've brought so much and when we contribute so much. And are there people who do commit crimes? Yes, but there's also native born Iowans who commit crimes. So why should immigrants be held to a different standard?
Well, I also don't hear people like Congressman King really focusing on all these people who commit crimes like, I don't know, going in and shooting up a school or a movie theater
Mm-hmm.
or a shopping
Yeah.
mall. I mean,
Right.
it seems that when deranged white folk commit crimes, oh, our thoughts and prayers are with the families. But if you're
Hmm.
black or brown or whatever, oh my God, we got to build a wall and we got to do this and that.
Yeah. Exactly.
There's just an inherent element of race and ethnicity. I want to read one more comment before we close, which I
Yeah.
think really tells you who he is. But last year he said this: "This whole white people business, though, does get a little tired, Charlie. I mean, I'd ask you to go back through history and figure out where are these contributions that have been made by these other categories of people that you're talking about. Where did any other subgroup of people contribute more to civilization?" So I think that I wanted to just end by asking, it's one thing if you have, as a politician, you have these views. I don't agree with them. You don't agree with them. But you're supposed to represent people, so you're not supposed to be either tweeting nasty things at people you represent or people in your state. That's more like conservative radio shock jock, like Rush Limbaugh. Do you feel that more people need to take this on? That he's literally insulting the people he's supposed to represent.
Absolutely. I think that that's one of the things that I really learned during this trip with Iowa CCI. One of our chants is, what do we do when people are under attack? We stand up and we fight back. So that's something I really learned. This man does not represent Iowa values at all. The 5 years that I've lived here, people have been really nice. There's been some incidents, but for the most part, people are nice. They're welcoming. Iowa's a welcoming state. Iowa has a tradition of welcoming refugees and immigrants, and this man is completely out of touch with what Iowans care about. I think that even a lot of people that live in his state and people that even aren't really, you know, actively fighting for immigrant rights or for social justice, they are just disgusted by this man's rhetoric and his really mean spirited way of acting. So I think that people, especially people in the fourth district who he's supposed to be representing, if you are angry, if you're upset by the way that this man is representing you, hold him accountable. Definitely hold him accountable. And I think that we we take this on together. That's why, I mean, I'm really thankful to the folks at Iowa CCI for having given me the opportunity to attend this conference and having taught me to stand up for what's right. And I say the same to everyone else. If you're upset by this man is not representing your values, then hold him accountable.
And if the viewers want to hold him accountable, his number is 202-225-4426. Let him know what you think about insulting. I don't care if it's a white immigrant, a marshmallow, insulting the people he's supposed to represent. That's 202-225-4426. Vanessa, I'm going to follow up, try to get an answer from him, and thank you for taking the time.
All right, thank you.
Have a good one.